Hey everyone, and welcome to Find Your Flow. My name is Natalie, and today we are going to be sending some extra amount of love to the lower back space and all of the areas that are connected to this as well. So stay present, breathe deep, hop onto your mat, and I'll meet you there. Everyone, so getting ready to send some extra love to the lower back space, but as we flow through our practice today, obviously we are targeting this area, however also coming to recognize and acknowledge how every single part of our body is connected. So one thing relates to the next and to the next and to the next, so just think about that as we flow through our practice today. It's all connected, baby. Coming on down to the ground. Whenever you're ready, finding a nice, comfortable space to start our practice. And if you do have quite big lower back issues, it might feel better to bring the feet to the ground and take them nice and wide with the knees collapsing towards each other, thighs internally rotating. But if you feel great on the floor, you could also explore legs long. And if you have a bolster cushion, like one of these things here, you might like to bring it underneath the lower part of the hamstring. This is another great place to send some love to the lower back. So, wherever you are, take a nice inhale in through the nose. Open your mouth, exhale, sigh it out. 2 more times. Once more. Gorgeous. And coming to your natural rhythm of breath, just starting to inhale and exhale through the nose consciously, and with this intention that we are going to try and take with us throughout our entire practice. So moving mindfully and in a way that feels great for us, obviously depending on the level of your issues relating to your lower back, and just really make sure you take it steady and listen to the body. If anything doesn't feel good at any time, just ease out. We're going to be taking it super gentle, but as always, take the support that you need and use your at-home props whenever you need to. And as we lie here, taking all of the tension out of the muscles of the face, we might like to bring the hands onto the stomach area. We're going to be connecting to the strength in the deep abdominal muscles in our front body at the start of our practice to help protect the back body. So just as I was saying before, it's all connected. And start to notice this space and what happens to it as we breathe. So as we inhale, what happens? And as we exhale, what happens? Keeping everything soft, not straining the breath. We're making it super, super long or deep. Nice, a couple more breaths here. Just arriving in this space. To-do list is on one side. We are here together. Gorgeous. And wherever the legs are, you can keep them there as we start to lengthen the arms behind us. Reach them all the way back. Take a nice big breath in. You might lengthen the legs here if this feels good. And exhale, soften twice more. Inhale to reach. Exhale to release one more time. Move with your breath. Beautiful. Then everybody, bringing the feet to the ground. You can open the eyes now, softly batting the lids open. And the feet will float to parallel, rooting through all four corners, so really feeling each of our toes, heels, outer edge and inner arch of the feet on the ground. We'll take our hands to our asis bone, so the two bony landmarks either side of the pelvis. And bring your fingertips onto this space and then really gently just exploring this pelvic movement. We are going to rock these two bones forward, so our lower back starts to arch off the mat. And then rocking them all the way back. Lower back starts to become more flush with the mat. And just play with this, coming forwards and back. The pelvic movement is really important in our yoga practice, but also in everyday life. It helps us to maintain a good posture and keep all of this hip pelvic space nice and stable. One more time, forwards and back. Nice. And then finding this space in the center of these 2 points. Everybody's might look slightly different depending on the curvature of your spine, but keeping the hands on these two bony asis bones, we are going to march the left foot off the ground. And then bring it down. March the right foot off. And down. And just come side to side here. Maybe we lift a little higher, maybe we keep it a little bit lower. Gently starting to stir up an inner Agni or fire in the belly. And maybe you have this time in the center where both feet are off the mat. You just lift and then tap down one set of toes. Nice. Keep breathing here. Upper body is nice and soft, neck long, spine long. Gorgeous. And then everybody coming to meet with both feet back on the ground. And lifting both legs off at the same time. Lifting and releasing. If our lower back starts to arch off the mat, can we hug those knees in a little bit closer towards us? 2 more times. Lifting and lowering. Trying to keep these asis bones pretty much where they are once more. And lowering all the way down. Nice. Taking a breath in and out. And then from here, just hugging the knees in towards you, taking them a little bit wider so they're more towards the armpits than the chest, and rocking side to side in Aponasana. Nice and gentle, just easing into our practice. Becoming to tune into our body, listen to what feels good today, knowing how it can be totally different from one day to the other. Nice. And then depending on how you want your practice to go today, we can roll onto our right side, use our palms to lift us into a seat, or take the hands to the hamstrings, curl the chin towards the chest, rock and roll all the way up into a seat. But listen to what feels great. And coming to lift your hips up onto some support if you have anything. So I have a yoga block. You can use a folded towel, a blanket, a cushion. Don't worry if you don't have anything. But notice how this extra support can help us to find a little more length through the spine so we aren't collapsing here, and send a little bit more space to the hips. And from our seat, we can have our knees crossed. We might like one foot in front of the other, one leg, or maybe the legs come out long. Wherever we are, reaching nice and tall, softening the shoulders from beneath the ears, and then taking the left hand to the outer right thigh. Right hand swims all the way behind us, fingertips onto the earth. So we're coming into a twist here and really exploring this through our thoracic spine, the central part. Rather than hoisting our head, neck and shoulder back, we're really exploring this from the rib cage to get some juicy fluids all around the spine. Nice. And breathing here, inhaling to keep reaching tall. Exhale, maybe we twist a little more. And then on your exhale, make your way back to center, twisting onto the other side. So right hand to the outer left thigh, left hand swims all the way behind us, inhaling to reach tall, exhaling to twist. Only twist as far as feels good today. We aren't looking to crank or yank ourselves into any position that doesn't feel good for our body. Nice. Exhaling to make your way back to center, bringing the hands behind the back of the head, lifting our heart space a little and taking our elbows nice and wide. As we send our right elbow down towards the ground. And then send the left elbow down, just rocking from side to side. Nice, one more time each way. And then make your way back to center. We'll lift our heart, lift our gaze, come to find extension as we really reach forwards. And then exhaling to curl the chin towards the chest into flexion, really round through the spine. Nice. Inhaling to lift. Exhaling to fold. And floating back to our neutral spine, we're going to make a nice big circle now with all the movements we've just done. So elbow down to the right, curling forwards into flexion, over to the left, and as we lift back, lifting our heart, lifting our gaze, nice, and over to the other side. Left elbow down, curling chin towards the chest, over to the right, and then lifting our way back into extension. On your next exhale, release. And shake out the hands and the wrists, finding our headlight hands, flashing lights on and off. And then making our way from our seat into a forward fold. So bringing our hands down onto the ground, obviously being very kind to the knees as always. We'll tuck the toes under and bring the feet to the ground, lengthening the legs. It doesn't matter where we are on our mats. For now, just make sure we take our feet to hips distance apart, finding some space in the lower back and sacrum as we bend our knees as generously as we like to here. Really keep them soft, allowing the head, neck and arms to hang down towards the ground. And if it feels good, just softly sway from side to side. Nice. Option here as well to hook opposite hand to opposite elbow. Really find this hanging, this release of all tension from the shoulder space. Beautiful. Nice and slowly bring your hands down to the ground. As we float the knees down, take them about as wide as our mat and bring the big toes together in the center, looking back at our triangle shaped legs. Hips sit back onto the heels, make our way into child's pose. Chest and forehead down towards the earth. Take the support you need, padding under the knees perhaps, or use your at-home props to bridge the gap between the heels and the hips, the forehead and the floor. Really make the most of this child's pose. It might feel better for you if there is quite a lot of tightness to bring the knees closer together and maybe the arms reach back. Really tailor this pose to you. And then everybody, wherever you are, reaching the arms forwards and floating them over towards the left side of the mat. The right hand might like to come on top of the left, just feeling a little bit more space in the right side body. Really breathing into the side of the ribs. And then over to the right side. Really find some space in the intercostal muscles in between the ribs. Really help us to find nice full expansion as we breathe in and out. And then making our way back to center slowly. Lifting up onto our hands and knees in a tabletop all fours. So with the wrists beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips, taking what support we might want underneath the knee space. We're going to curl the tailbone down as we lift the spine towards the sky. Drop the gaze in our cat pose. Really take a nice full breath here, pressing into the palms to really lift the spine towards the sky and lift out of the shoulders if we're collapsing down here. Really make the most of the support of the earth beneath us. And moving with your breath, imagine that we are moving one vertebra at a time. We'll lift our tailbone towards the sky and then float our lower back, mid back and upper back into movement. Head lifts last of all, keeping the neck nice and long in our cow pose. Beautiful. And 2 more times. Let your breath lead the way here. There's absolutely no rush. Trying to find that individual movement though is really interesting way to explore this posture rather than just reaching the destination and staying there like, cool, what's next? Can we enjoy the experience? Really listen into the sensations we feel. The next time you come to your cow pose to finish up, meeting back in a neutral spine tabletop. Sending the right leg out behind us, toes tucked. We're going to rock forwards and back, nice and gently. And then lifting the right leg off the ground, bending the knee and stepping it all the way forwards into a lunge. Don't worry if you need to give it a helping hand, give it all the help you need. And coming into our lunge, taking our feet and legs nice and wide apart. So like we're on 2 parallel lines, like that train track. If we're on our tightrope, make sure we step it a little bit wider. And keeping our hands either side of our front foot. This is where our at-home props, whatever we have to lift that a little bit more height underneath the hands is great to use, so we can keep that length in our spine. And just really easing into this, so keeping the front knee over the front ankle. Be mindful that we aren't just collapsing here, keeping this little bit active, although we're sort of staying in this static stretch for a little bit longer. Just giving the chance for the psoas muscle to find a little bit more space. As the psoas is part of the hip flexor muscles, and the hip flexor connects the top of the femur, which is our thigh bone, really big, nice long thigh bone here, to the hips and the groin and the lower back. So, gotta send some love to the hip flexors as well. And then lifting our way up and out, hands come to the hips. Taking the padding you need underneath the back knee as always. And then reaching the arms all the way towards the sky, softening the shoulders. Taking 1 breath in and exhaling, releasing, floating the hands down and stepping back into tabletop. Just wiggling the hips around one way and the other, before sending the left leg out long behind us, toes tucked under and rocking forwards and back. Nice, lifting the left leg off the ground, bending that knee, stepping it all the way forwards, coming into our lunge. And notice if the back knee is feeling a little bit uncomfortable, we might be on the kneecap and that really not nice space. You'll know if you're there, so just step it back a little bit if we need to, or step it forwards, whichever makes it feel great. And then keeping our hands either side of our front foot, again lifting onto our support as we send some love to the hip flexors. Nice. And as we spend a little bit more time here in a bit more stillness, can we notice where our mind and our attention goes? Are we instantly jumping to, I'm tight today, or I'm not tight today, or some other form of judgment, or maybe even to, what am I having for tea tonight or tomorrow? So just keeping it present, listening to the breath, keeping this inner quiet, and sticking with our practice. Nice, 1 more breath. Before lifting all the way up, hands come to the hips. Nice. Lovely long spine, and then reaching the hands all the way out, finding length as we reach for the sky. Soften the shoulders. Take one more deep breath here. Before releasing all the way down, stepping back into our tabletop, wiggling the hips from side to side, and then making your way into your child's pose. So wherever you are, knees together or wide, arms forward or back. Let's take a moment to release here. And then everybody lifting back into our tabletop, tucking our toes under as we sit back on the heels. Reach the arms out in front, pressing down through the palms. We're going to send the hips high towards the sky, lifting downward facing dog. Remember, it's all connected. So bending our knees here, keeping this nice and soft as we send a little bit more room and space to so many different muscles, joints in the body. This might be your first dog. You might be like, whoa, so keep breathing. Remember, it's not about getting our heels down to the ground. Experience whatever you experience here, keeping this nice long spine as we bend the knees. And then slowly walking the hands back to the feet. Finding a forward fold at the back of our mat. Taking our feet a little bit wider if they're quite close together, so hips distance apart, if not a bit more. And releasing the arms, hanging here, nice bend in the knees. And super slowly, arms stay heavy like a rag doll. As we press down through all four corners of the feet, we'll slowly start to rise and lift up to standing. But take your time here. Imagine that you're restacking your spine one vertebra at a time. Nice. Coming to mountain pose. Feet hips distance apart, toes tracking forwards, knees softly bending. We're going to reach for the sky with the arms, gazing up if we can. And then releasing, curling the chin towards the chest as we roll super slowly back down into our forward fold. And bringing the hands down onto the ground, walking a little bit forward as we float the knees to the earth and then scoot the legs to one side. Making our way into a seat, lifting up onto some support if we have some here. And then sending our right leg out long and bringing our left foot to the inside of the right thigh. And if this doesn't feel good, if we do have any knee problems, just send the leg wherever you can, wherever it feels good. It's all going to be about the right leg for this first part. So we're going to take our hands to our rib cage and spiral them open to the inside of our legs. And reach our right hand down our right leg. It doesn't need to go all the way down towards the toes. Just listen to your range of mobility today. And as we do this, we're keeping our heart space lifting and radiating towards the sky, so we're not collapsing down immediately. And then sending the left hand, bringing it either to the hip, or maybe we start to reach it out to the side, up towards the sky, or over towards the right leg. Take whichever level feels good for you today. Take a couple more breaths here. Nice. And then sending the hands back to the rib cage as we rotate over towards the right leg. Taking our hands either side of the leg and keeping nice and tall through the upper body as we start to fold forwards, bringing our stomach down towards our thigh and bending our right knee as much as we would like to here. Keeping the right toes nice and flexed. Allow yourself to soften here, so taking the hands wherever they need to be today. One more breath. Nice. And then sending the left hand to the outside of the right leg, wherever it falls most comfortably. And reaching the right hand behind us. So we're coming into a twist here. Still keeping this fold though towards our right leg, so like a fold twist. Tailor this to you. Notice your breath here as we keep the length through the spine and in the back of the neck. And then making your way all the way back to center. Both feet come to the ground as we curl over the legs. Just allow yourself to release, almost like a seated child's pose here. Nice, then lifting up, coming onto the other side, sending the left leg out long. Right leg bends in wherever it feels great. Hands float to the rib cage as we spiral them out to the center and start to walk our left hand down our left leg. And we'll probably notice how one side feels very different to the other. We might do, we might not. And don't worry about this, don't judge. Keep everything nice and present, keeping our heart space radiating, taking our hand either to the hip, reaching it out towards the sky, or folding over towards the left leg. Nice. One more breath here. Before making your way back up, hands to the rib cage as we spiral over towards the left leg, keeping nice and tall. We start to fold forwards. Bending the knees generously as we like to. Remember, we're not locking into this knee joint, putting pressure here. Take this opportunity to listen inwards as we find that little bit more quiet. One more breath. Beautiful. Then taking the right hand to the outside of the left leg, wherever it falls most comfortably, we'll float the left hand behind us and find our funky twist fold here, sending some love to the entire spine, but particularly to the lower back, the space around the QL in the lower back here, either side of the spine. Taking it nice and steady. One more breath. Don't forget to smile. Lifting your way all the way up and out. Nice. Bringing the feet to the earth and collapsing over in this kind of seated child's pose that we found. Really, really, really allow yourself to completely soften here, taking all of the tension away from the upper body, the head, the neck. Breathing into this space in the back body. Nice, then lifting our way up and off our support, we are going to come down to the ground. So feet firmly planted, reaching the arms all the way forward, chin curls towards the chest as we slowly, imagine we're in that super slow-mo, we start to release down one vertebrae at a time. The low back, the mid back, and the upper back, and eventually the head. Nice, we have a couple of options here as we come into a twist. The first option is crossing the right leg over the left. Then taking your arms out nice and wide, wherever we are, we'll be doing this. And then sending your legs over towards the left side of your mat and keeping your shoulder blades rooted down. That's the first option. Second option is taking the hips over towards the right side of the mat, hugging the knees in, and then sending them over to the left. So keeping the legs together here as much as we can. One of them might feel more suited to you today, so take whichever one you want to. Just keeping the shoulder blades rooted firmly. Breathing deeply, and soften the eyes if you'd like to, or close them completely. Just listen to the sound of your breath and the way it feels in this twist. And then on your next exhale, make your way back up to center, either crossing the left leg over and then legs over to the right, or lifting the hips over to the left side, hugging the knees in first and then sending them over to the right. And if we're in this variation, notice if the feet are hugging in towards the glute space. If they are, can we take them a little bit further away so we help to prevent any congestion or fussiness around this area. And maybe in time, as we develop our practice, it might feel good to add another twist here into the neck space, so we could gaze over towards the left hand. And if the knees don't come together in this variation, we can bring some support in between them, or maybe underneath the bottom knee and the earth. One more breath. Making your way back to center and hugging the knees in, refinding our Apanasana. Taking the knees a bit wider towards the armpit space. If it feels good, staying still or rocking from side to side. And then bringing the left foot to the ground and kicking the right foot towards the sky, but keeping this knee bent in towards the armpit. Taking our right hand either to the hamstring, the back of the calf, or the outer edge of the right foot. We find a happy baby pose. Now if we have a strap here, we might like to bring our strap, belt or tie around the center of the right foot and allow the arms to relax. This is a really great place to be if we're growing our practice. And if you have been practicing a while longer, you might like to come straight into a full happy baby, but only do that if there's the space today. And if you have done this just on one side, now release the right leg, hug the left leg back in, take it nice and wide towards the armpit before kicking the foot up and taking hold wherever it feels great, keeping the head, neck and shoulder space nice and soft on the earth. And if you notice the tendency in your happy baby to lift the lower back off here and come to almost this rocking horse pose, can we really allow this grounding in the lower back and the hips and the upper glute space, so we aren't putting any undue pressure on the spine. One more breath wherever you are. Releasing down and coming into our final, most precious resting posture in Shavasana. So remember how we started our practice. Take any variation that feels good for you. And just take a moment to really snuggle into this, get comfy, have any last fidget, itch that you might need, and then come to find stillness as we take all of the tension away from the body. Allow the muscles to feel like they're melting away from the bones, and that our physical body is melting into the ground beneath us that's made of quicksand. And if we haven't already, closing the eyes. Listening in or feeling the sound or the sensation of the breath as it comes and goes naturally. Checking in with ourselves, asking how we feel, both in our physical body but also our mental body and our mind. Can we find a little bit more quiet now? There might be some days when we manage to find a bit more of a gap between our thoughts. If that's not one of them days, don't worry. Keep aware of the present moment as it unfolds one by one. The only time is now. Notice where the attention is as we bring it back to this space, and everybody send even more love to the lower back space. Imagine that we have a glowing orb of light here at the base, around the base of the spine, and give it a colour, a shape, whatever comes to your mind, and then watch this orb as it disperses and spreads across the entire body. So the love and space we're finding here is reaching every single part of our body, from the crown of our head to the tip of our toes. It's all connected. Staying here for as long as you'd like to. If you have to end your practice now, either keeping the hands where they rest or floating the palms together near the heart. I thank you so much for joining me and the rest of the Find Your Flow community. Thank you for your time and for your energy as always. And from my heart to yours, Namaste.